Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to put a picture onto the side of the subreddit and move these words out of the way so you don't see them anymore. So we're going to go from this to this, hopefully. We'll see what happens. So in order to add a picture, we have to figure out where we want to put the picture. So if we go to inspect element, we'll see that we're in a class called side with a bunch of classes called spacer. So now that we know, we have to access a class called side, and then we have to access a certain number of these. So the code that we want to use is div.side, which will access the side section, and then div.spacer. So now that we've accessed the side class and the spacer class inside the side class, we have to tell it which one of the spacers that we want to access. So what we're going to do is do nth-spacer, no, that's not it at all, nth-of-type. That basically tells the website that we're going to be accessing the nth-of-type, a certain number that is one of these spacers. It could be, there's like 11 of them, so we could pick any one we want. So we're going to do 5. This is telling it that we're going to be editing with this little chunk of code the 5th spacer class in the side class. So now that we have that all defined, we're going to start off by adding a picture, just like we did with the banner. It's going to be background URL, parentheses, %, and then the name of the picture you want to put in. I named mine, that's not what I named mine at all, SidebarImage, and just so it's easier to keep track of, and then %, and parentheses. If you forgot, you just choose file, upload the picture, name it whatever you want, and then you can use it however you desire. We will then do top, center, no repeat. What this does is it's going, each object on this website is in a container. That's like when you see here, you see how it's highlighting certain boxes? This is a container, this is a container, this is a container. It's all containers. So what top, center, no repeat does is it's going to put it to the top of the container, in the center, and it's going to tell it to not repeat the picture ever, so you don't have duplicating problems or anything like that. The next line of code we're going to do is padding. The padding will tell the website how much room to give the picture. So since it's a background, the padding usually applies to whatever this is a background to. So let's say you were accessing this word right here. The padding would be the little part around it. In this case, the background isn't actually a background to anything, it's just a background to blank space. So if you didn't put any padding, it would just not show the picture. So in this case, the padding is going to act as kind of like the height and width properties. So with the padding, we're going to do 340 pixels, and that's basically just going to show 340 pixels down of it, and then 0, 0. Because we don't need to do a width of it, we really have to do a height, because it's basically doing 0 padding of the whole length of the side. Not sure if that made any sense. But basically it's already showing the whole thing, but it's doing 0 pixels of width, of height, not of width. It's doing 0 pixels of height, so that's why it's not showing anything now. But if you set the padding to 340 vertical, then it's going to show 340 pixels of it, and then the more you increase of it, the more it'll push everything down, even if there's no picture left. And then we'll do 0, 0 just to put the other things at default, so it's not like all over the place. And then we set the margin top to 20 pixels, and that should put the picture where we want it. And there we go. So the picture is there, it is in a very good spot, and now the only thing we have to do now is access the words over here, edit them, and push them way out of the way. So if you see, it's a hover, right? But that's not actually what it is. If you look here, we have a bunch of match classes. We're looking for one that we can actually edit. So here we see a .titlebox h1, and that basically changes the color. A is like the actual link itself. What we want to do is access just h1, which means you can actually like access the words. Anything in the side that's an h1, we will access with this line of code, titlebox.h1. So we're going to create a new line of code, which is going to be titlebox h1. Set up the brackets, and now we can edit it with 2 lines of code. The first one is going to be text-indent. The second one is going to be overflow. I'll show you how text-indent works. Basically, we did it last time with the banner, but if you didn't see that, it basically will just shove the word all the way over the side. So if we do 500 pixels, it'll just shove it over 500 pixels, and now we can scroll 500 pixels over and see it. The only thing is, the whole point we moved it was so that we don't see it anymore. We don't want this stupid scroll wheel thing. So in order to fix that, we access the overflow property, which is basically what controls this. There's a lot of overflow properties built in. We have one here, we have one on the actual website, just so you don't lose things on the website. Let's say you're trying to lose them on purpose. You would basically set this property to be visible. We'll do important so it overrides any other overflow for this piece of content. And it basically says that if it's visible when you're loading up the website, then that's good. But if it's not visible, don't overflow to it. Only overflow things that are visible. So it's basically just saying the overflow is set to not visible. Don't have any overflow. So we save that, and it's gone. So hopefully that should be everything we need to do to change this website into something like this. We refresh, and there we have it. So with this whole nth thing over here, it's extremely easy. Let's say, you don't want it over here, you want it on top of the search bar. You would just change this to 1. It'll push it up to the first spacer class and push it on top of here. You could then add padding to the bottom, add like 30 more pixels of padding, and it'll push it, and you got nice, that works just as well. I just happen to like it underneath here. If you put it in 3, then it'll go in between these two guys. Actually, that would be 4, not 3. And it'll go right in between these two guys. So, it's whatever personal preferences. I happen to like it over here, and that's how I'm going to leave it. So, I'm going to put this code into the description of the video, so you can check it out if you so desire. Also, to note, if you watched the last video with the banner image, I changed this code from the .reddit name to .page name. In order to, because if you did it as .reddit name, it would access this also, and you'd have duplicate pictures, and it was overflow, and it was just super confusing to deal with. So I just used .pagename_a, which does this just as well, except it only changes this. And we did set the background image, position absolute to put to the side, bottom to 0, so it would hit the bottom of the container. And that's it. I think at some point, I'm just going to remove the border, see if I could do that here. Border to none. Yeah, it didn't do anything. I have to access the header left one, I think. That would be this. Here, if we put it here, then it should get rid of the border. No, maybe there's no border. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I don't know. But, yeah. So, that's everything that you need to know on putting a sidebar image into the sidebar. See you next time.